and collective in nature. This is for not being for or against anything, where it will call the determinism of the game. It's just you have to look at it in a different regiment. All the hits of a soccer ball done after the first kick is and everyone's in their set position, that guy who kicks the ball first is going to show for a rhythm for the rest of the game where the ball will go. You can believe that or not, but it's partially true and partially isn't. If you would like everything to be cybernetic, like having robots do everything, you can't just like curtail without cybernetics and then with cybernetics to whichever you fancy for your favorite. Whereas we're not robots, no one would argue that, but it doesn't mean that we have to pretend everything is only cybernetic. I didn't know that the battery on a laptop can be expelled out, depleted quicker if it is running a CD in its CD drive, or if a electronic device is plugged into it with a USB cord. But will the internet be worse if it's an old device and these three things are happening? I think that all my devices are old and that's why the internet runs bad. Is this the case? You can't have your counterpart doing better than you. In Mortal Kombat, there was 2 Chinese men and 1 Native American who made it to the end of time to defeat a Titan with Greek mythology. Titans are basically angels. Angels are named, so this is all lining up real nicely. This Titan controlled time by wearing a crown. And this is so important because these 2 Chinamen, one needed to become a god of thunder, meaning immortal. And in order to do that, he found the god of thunder, and the god of thunder switched places with him. So the god of thunder was immortal, and then the Chinaman Liu Kang became a thunder god, and he already wielded fire, so he kind of has both situations going on for him. And then the other Chinaman was Shang Tsung, a Chinaman who understood how to become immortal by taking souls, and he can do other important powers, but that's not human. So neither of them, when they became God or immortal in both cases without being God, they're fighting over this crown of time from the Titan, Kronika, who is an embodiment of like smart dust. And this is dust that can make up anything, that has time in it. So she can control anything, do whatever you want with that embodiment, because everything is made up of particles. But there's this one particle named like smart dust, and it's like a robotic form of dust. This was in the movie Transformers. Anyways, Nightwolf was the only human who was not immortal who made it that far. Other than Nightwolf, it was just Raiden and Fujin. And Raiden was mortal because he gave up his placement to Liu Kang, and Fujin is a god of air. And so these are the only people alive in order to save Earthrealm in one of these timelines, which was the one most important because they did beat Kronika, but you get to choose which one gets the crown, Liu Kang or Shang Tsung. And the only reason why Liu Kang did his swap, it's his counterpartner, his anti-body self. This is like there's an anti-everything. You see, it's just you don't see it because it's connected so closely, like a shadow onto you. So this in Mortal Kombat is just a revenant, a mirror image of yourself, and it's like a bad decision where it always is making bad decisions of your consciousness. And so when it got hurt, Liu Kang, his actual self, got hurt. And this is kind of weird because it only happened after Liu Kang came back from dying. So Liu Kang was a zombie, and then so a zombie is his revenant self. Or maybe it's different. Either way, he died and came back from being a zombie, and then his revenant self was still around and it hurt him. So I guess there's two counterparts, a revenant self and a zombie. And if your revenant self gets hurt, then you get hurt. And if your zombie self is killed, then you can't come back alive and become a god in Liu Kang's decision, or Liu Kang's path that was given by Raiden. Someone says like they're a visual learner or they're a hands-on learner. That's equivalent just to saying the cybernetic of landscaping, of approval and a solution, cybernetic or grassroots. And when you say that it's just one or the either, you're abusing the system, or there's a wave particle duality by default. By default, the lay of the land is all dark energy in every other spot. And so when you've got an atom in between that, the atom is able to do motion because it's got photons coming in and going off of it. And those photons aren't all the same shape because they have different energies as they're going about an atom. One inanimate object that was so fabulous where Tony Stark did something equivalent to Liu Kang did, but he did it without becoming a god. Iron Man, Tony Stark, he put on a glove in order to beat Thanos, who was taking over not Earthrealm, the entire universe, starting with Earthrealm. And he did it all just with a robot cyborg suit. But what's really so interesting is the correlation aspect. Take Kenshi for example. This guy is blind. I think he got cursed because he is part clone of a demon inside of him. It's kind of like he can push energy of his body form outside of his body, and it can push people around like a body slam. You know, this is just something that he can do whenever he wants to, because he's part possessed by a spirit of energy along with his soul inside of his body. For Spider-Man, it's on the outside of his body, where this alien thing called Venom attached onto his body, and now he is part clone of an alien suit when he can't get out of it. So first he was bit by an alien spider that gave him stuff that was not human, such as spidey senses, and then he got attacked by an alien clothing that took him hostage. This clothing is like an inanimate object because all it is cloth. But this inanimate object wraps around his entire body. So you've got that, you've got like the crown in Chronica is a titan, and that can control time if you're wearing the crown. Inanimate objects, wow, what things, what great things. In Moses, he talked to a bush, and then he had like the angel of death come after he talked to a bush, and he said, you need to put blood on your door or else you're gonna get taken by an angel of death. And everyone's like, okay, we better listen to him, because he was talking to a fire bush. And after he talked to a fire bush, he could raise his arm. He did this one time, and the entire ocean split in half. Wow, what an inanimate object Moses surpassed. And at the main come, what's the outcome? You gonna get effed up like what a brick does. So the fact that there's like two forms of you in Mortal Kombat, and one form only can exist if you don't, mainly a zombie archetype, and then like you're possessed if you come back as a zombie, and then once again you're partly possessed as a revenant, because that's just yourself making bad decisions the whole time. And I don't know too much about them. It's not a lot known about them. They're just dark skin, you know. And this isn't a stretch because there is like different formations of pressure. It's in different like weight and energy, and this is for everything. So that does make sense that there's also two counterparts for your full embodiment, even though you shouldn't play with either, because that's like understanding what a curse is when it doesn't even need to be cursed in the first place. You can just be blessed like Liu Kang and discover fire and stop there. But if a gremlin is like a tiny human and it has a weird skin, it's more like a revenant / zombie. And if a bird flies into a car, its skull is going to explode the same way that a gremlin skull would explode if its head was the size of a bird. It's just in a different form, but it would literally be an egg cracking if you're going. It just depends on how fast you're going and how heavy your car is, where it'll explode just the same way as Shao Kahn. This guy, he's really strong. He has a hammer and he smashes it onto the head of someone and their skull like explodes, or their back would explode if they hit their spine with the mallet. This is the same way that Hulk does his slam with his 2 hands, and it's called like a Hulk slap. And if he slaps your head with 2 hands, it's gonna explode the same exact way that Shao Kahn would be taking it and hitting the head. Just the exploded parts. With Hulk, it would be on either side of your head, but with Shao Kahn, it would just be from one point of explosion, was the point of contact where the mallet, his hammer, met your head.